Good morning. There we go. It's like eventually it'll start quieting down because the fear of me with a microphone usually quiets people up. Good morning, everyone. My name is Avery Christensen. I am the Program Manager for Organizational Development and Employee Training, which means that my main job here on campus is being your tour guide for today for Building Community Day. A couple of quick notes before I hand it off. If you guys are totally confused as to where you're going after this or what the next session is, there are QR codes posted outside that will take you to the full schedule. The big thing is that after our wonderful keynote today, after our wonderful workshops today, I do ask that you all show up for our years of service ceremony starting at 12:15. There is free food involved in that if that is a bigger lure for you. Otherwise, come show up, come support your co-workers, your colleagues as they are celebrated for the years of service here at the college, and grab a kazoo because there is going to be a bucket of kazoos. Without further ado, I would like to pass it off to Dr. Yvonne Taro-Powell, who will do our land acknowledgement for today.
I think most of you know, can you hear me? I think most of you know where I'm going to start. Good morning. Good morning. Let's try that again. You know, I start with good morning and just kind of get revved up because that has an impact on our brain and has an impact on the way then in which we engage. And so when we can sort of say good morning, you know, some of that literature is starting to say when you put that out in the world, then the universe is going to start bringing you a good morning. So let's hope the universe is going to bring us a good morning. So we're going to start and try that one more time. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Eduardo, I saw a low good morning. Good morning. Yes, good morning. Right, and that energy right there, that's going to bring us all a good day. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. All right. Then I'm going to ask you to take a deep breath. We know that taking a deep breath, for many of us, not all of us, allows us to center. You're born with a breath. You take a last breath. And in the gap, we have the opportunity to breathe and kind of settle in. And so with that, I'm going to ask us all to breathe up, hold for 4, and then release. In fact, I'm going to ask you to do a double breathe. If you go, hold it for 4, and then let it out so you can hear it, like, all right? Here we go. Up for 4. Let's try that one more time. Last time. Thank you. I'm here with all of you today to, one, embrace the moment with all of you, to learn together, and to do the work we do as we move forward together. At the college, many of you will do a land acknowledgement, maybe in your classroom. You might do it in different activities. But most recently, our Board of Trustees moved forward with a land acknowledgement, an official one. And so today, I want to read our land acknowledgement. It's also important to say that you read an acknowledgement, a land acknowledgement, to, again, make sure that we are not participating in the erasure of indigenous people, families, and communities, and that we're also willing to work together to figure out ways we can embrace the community more and come together more. We acknowledge the Coast Salish tribes, bands, and First Nations people, including the Snohomish, Duwamish, Tulalip, Suquamish, Snoqualmie, and many others and their successors as the original inhabitants of the land where Edmonds College sits and where the diverse communities we serve live, study, and work. Since time immemorial, the Coast Salish people have hunted, fished, gathered, taken care of these lands. We respect the sovereignty, their right to self-determination, and honor their sacred spiritual connection with the land and water. We will strive to be honest about our past mistakes and bring about a future of inclusive Indigenous partnerships that includes their families, stories, and voices to form a more just and equitable society. This acknowledgement only becomes meaningful when combined with accountable relationships and informed actions that support student success and community engagement. This is a first step in acknowledging our history, honoring this land, and sustaining our ongoing relations with Indigenous peoples. Deep breath.
Thank you, Dr. Chalpal. And yes, we all know where you start, so thank you for that. That was a good exercise. Good morning. Good to see all of you. By the way, I'm Dr. Singh. I just don't have my suit and tie on today. And thank you for those who are watching from their office or from home. I hope everyone get to come out of their offices today and from their homes on campus, because there's no substitute for face-to-face interaction. So this is a very special day. I learned this about 6.5 years ago before starting my job. And in 18 March and April, I was contacted by someone and said, hey, we're doing something called BCD. And I thought BCD meaning we go out to the community. Until I came here, then I learned, oh, this is such a wonderful thing. BCD for our own family, our own faculty and staff that we do internally. So that's such a good thing that I never had experienced before in any of my other jobs. So again, this is a day that everywhere are you? So again, thank you so much for your hard work. Yeah, give us a hand, please. I know how much planning goes into this event, and this is a day that planned by you and for you, and your email, we cannot miss your email. You remind us again, and she was inviting all of us for being part of the committee to plan this day for quite a few months. So again, anybody could have been part of this planning committee. So it's all for you and by you, and that's so special about this day. So a lot of good things are going to happen, the workshops, we can learn from each other. We're going to enjoy each other's company, get to know each other, who we are, and sometimes we don't get to because we also have a head start. Yes, so we don't get to see you because 9 different locations throughout the county, from here, Linwood, all the way Monroe. So, and people who work off campus, and of course here. So it's one day we all come together, forget about, we are here working, but we don't have to worry about 8 to 5 job today, right? That's so unique. So let's have a good time, let's have fun, let's do some good things for our own self, and have a great, wonderful day. With that, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Singh. All righty, the moment you guys have all been waiting for. Grace Perez, our amazing keynote for today. If you guys really, really resonate with what she talks about today, she will be staying here for ongoing conversation and Q&A in this space after her keynote completes. So do not feel like you have to rush out to your next thing. If you want to stick and connect further, she has graciously agreed to stay a bit longer afterwards. Without further ado, it is my pleasure to be able to introduce Grace. Grace is a global leader for Google's Aboriginal, Indigenous Network, or GAIN, and is a 2024 winner of the, I am so sorry. I bullet pointed my list of introductions. Clearly, I've fallen out of that habit since I graduated college. But she is a Webby Award winner and recent recipient of Google's ERG Impact Award for 2024. And she's here to walk through Indigenous representation and her work at Google at promoting Indigenous visibility. So please, everyone, give a warm welcome to Grace Perez.
Hi everybody, it's so nice to be here. I'm not used to a podium, so this kind of feels a little, feels very formal for me. But it's very nice to see everybody. I think this is so cool that you guys do this. I'm just so honored to be here around this group, and you can already tell, you feel the energy. It's very exciting, and I'm just excited to be here. I'm here to promote Google's role in promoting Indigenous visibility. Like Avery was saying, I'll tell a little bit more about myself, but I just kind of want to go through introduction. I'll do a little bit of an overview. I've noticed when I do these workshops, there's a lot of misunderstanding of what Indigenous is, what Native American is, what it means. So I always go through just a Indigenous 101, just to kind of get us all contextualize a lot of the stuff that I'll be talking about. And then I'll kind of go more into the importance of visibility and then what we can do afterwards and take action. I'm also sprinkling in a lot of pop quizzes, so there's going to be opportunity to win a few prizes. I think I have 14 questions total, so first person to raise their hand, I'll kind of just someone either is going to know every question and just walking away with 14 prizes, or so it'll be. I'm trying to make this more interactive. I feel. This feels like a very interactive, fun group. So I don't want to be standing formal talking at you. I really want this to be more conversational. So if you have questions, please raise your hand during the entire thing. So a little bit about myself. My name is Grace Perez. I work at Google, and like Avery was saying, I still am a global lead for Google's Aboriginal and Indigenous Network. I am part of the Nooksack Indian tribe that's up in on the border of Vancouver, BC. So from here, I'm here with my mom, Elena. She'll be our Vanna White. She's the one holding all the prizes. That's where I get my Nooksack side. And I'm also a veteran. I was in the US Air Force. I was in law enforcement for 5 years. I was actually stationed out here, Joint Base Lewis McChord. And on my day job, thank you. At my day job, I work at YouTube. So I do strategy and operations for YouTube marketing. And I'm also part of the new board of directors for New Mexico Community Capital, which supports Indigenous entrepreneurs, Indigenous small and medium businesses to kind of ensure that they kind of get their, they have digital literacy, but they're also able to sustain their businesses. I am a big advocate for youth in general, underrepresented groups, all youth. I was a big brother, big sister for 5 to 6 years down in California. And thank you. That's really, honestly, youth is so important to me, so important. And that's kind of also why I'm here. I'm a big advocate for just students in general, junior talent. Part of my role at YouTube, I do a lot of work with internships, so I'm happy to stay back and kind of walk you guys through some internships, both undergraduate and graduate degrees. And then I am a proud Shoreline Community College. I know you don't hold it against me, but I went to Shoreline. I got my associates. But community college, honestly, yeah, it's one of my, I think I had the best community there. I went and got my undergraduate, and then I went and got my master's at USF. But Shoreline was really, I don't know, it just I had the best community there. I still talk to those people, and I graduated that from 2005, 6, a long time ago, about 20 years. So I still talk to the teachers I had there. I still talk to the mentors I had there. I still talk to the friends I met there. So it's just really important. This community is so important. You guys are doing such good work. And then I just kind of wanted to just throw this out there. So I don't represent all of Native America. I don't have all of the answers for all Indigenous people. I represent these things. I don't know much about anything else, but I'm happy to just brainstorm and workshop questions. But yeah, I don't represent all of Native America. And before I jump in, I just wanted to see and check the room. Are there any other Native Americans or Indigenous people? Oh, where are you from? I'm Cherokee from Oklahoma. Cherokee. What's your name? Andrea. Andrea, nice to meet you. Anybody else? Okay, yeah. Cherokee. Oh, nice to meet you. What's your name? John, nice to meet you. Anybody else? And I kind of want to point this out because we all look different. We all look different. It's like everyone, I think, sees Pocahontas and they think, oh, that's what Native American looks like. That's, they see, they just have this stereotypical vision in their head, right? Like if you close your eyes and I tell you to think of what a Native American looks like, you're going to have a picture in mind. But me and John look nothing alike, yet we're both Native American in our own way. So it's very nice to meet you guys. So just an overview, again, kind of going into, Indigenous 101. Kudos to anyone who knows what this movie is. Anybody? No, it's actually Smoke Signals. It's a fantastic movie. This is a really fun part. But anyways, Google's efforts in Indigenous visibility, taking action, and then just one other thing I wanted to point out there was, we're all learning in public here, and it can be awkward, and it can be like uncomfortable, and it's like, but this is just be okay to be vulnerable. Like it's okay to not know the answer. It's okay to ask questions. Like the reason I do this entire Indigenous 101 section is because I've done so many workshops like this with Google VPs, with like the top like C-suite people, and they ask me the most basic questions, and I didn't realize what people didn't know. So this is a completely safe space to learn in public here. I really want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable with just not knowing something, and it's totally okay. Like I don't know everything either, and like John, Andrew, you don't know everything either. So it's like, it's just, I want to make sure everyone feels comfortable with asking questions and like being incorrect about their answers. So let's go into Indigenous 101. So just very, very high level. So we are a very small population, but we're very, very diverse. 2% of the US population, 6% of the global population, and about 476 million of us in the world across 90 countries and over 5,000 different cultures. So cultures, it could be tribes, it could be clans, you could be indigenous to Peru, you could be indigenous to the Philippines, you could be indigenous to the United States. We're very small, but we're very, very diverse. Have our own languages, we have our own customs, our own traditions. And we all have our own individual preferences. There's no universal, John, Andrea, and Grace go by this. It's like, well, we do, and we might have our own preferences, but here are just a few names that we go by. Indigenous, one thing I've heard recently, Native Plus, that's like a new thing. Native American, American Indian, First Nations is that's mostly like Canadian, and it kind of depends on like the area. And I think even with my mom, it's also generational. I think she went more with, she kind of like called herself Indian and it was okay. American Indian, it was okay. I kind of like preferred Native American and Indigenous or just Native. It just kind of depends. But whenever you're unsure, again, it's okay to ask. Always ask. And I just wanted to provide an example. So my name's Grace Perez. I am Indigenous Native Plus globally. I am Native American, which is like the continent. And just like a fun fact, we kind of call North America Turtle Island because it kind of looks like a turtle. Not much else goes into that. But the continent is Native American. The region, like we were talking about in our land acknowledgement, is Coastal Salish. So I will also kind of introduce myself as I'm a Coastal Salish tribal member. And then my nationality, like we're card-holding natives, is Nooksack. There's actual, there's a line drawn that says like, hey, this is Nooksack land. And so that's my nationality, as well as United States. But I've gone by all of these. So that's just a very high level, like, here's just like a brief example of things that I go by, and then all of them are okay and acceptable. Okay, so here's the pop quiz. And my mom has the prizes. Sorry, Mom. Okay, so who knows where the word Seattle comes from? I think I saw this hand.
Chief Seattle.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. So Seattle, the word itself comes from Chief Self. And he was a Duwamish, Duwamish and Suquamish tribal member. So I guess, yeah. Putting my mom to work. Okay, second question. What is Washington's largest tribe? Go ahead. Nice. So this one it was like a trick question, but Yakima is the largest group of people, population-wise, and then technically, acreage-wise, it's the Colville Reservation, but it's a Confederate tribe. So technically, there's like, I think over 10 to 12 different tribes that sit on Colville. Yep. Yeah, she's getting her workout in. Okay, I want to make sure I'm like seeing everyone's hands. Okay, how many federally recognized tribes are there in the United States? Ooh, we've got. Ooh, that's actually really close. So this keeps changing because people are constantly trying to get federally recognized. So as of, I think, January of this year, it was 574. That's close enough, though, because everyone, I get like 5, and it's like, close, there's the number in there. Yeah, but federally recognized tribes are eligible for special programs. It essentially means that the government recognizes us as tribes. So one interesting one is the Duwamish, which is the Seattle end, is not a federally recognized tribe, but they're constantly trying to get federal recognition. And this one I hope is easy. Who can name 5 federally recognized tribes? Yep. What am I? Oh, Snoqualmie, yeah, exactly. And it's like, you can think of like Muckleshoot, yeah, Tulalip, like, you guys have quite a few up here. That's actually, I think, was one of the questions. But yeah, there's 29 federally recognized tribes just in Washington State, which is quite a few. I mean, there's quite a bit. Like, I was just watching TV with my mom this morning, and there was like a Muckleshoot just commercial, and I thought that was so cool. There's like, I don't see that in California. You don't see that in many places. You guys have a lot of really cool programs and just a lot of cool, like, different, just visibility. You don't have that everywhere, and it's so cool that you guys have that here. Yeah, it's so cool. I've never seen ads like that, and it's just to be like, hey, we're still here and we're thriving, you know? Yeah, totally. You guys have like the canoe journey. Yeah, no, I love that. I've never seen that anywhere, and it's very, very rare. So I'm very impressed. I was scared that no one would know any of these, and I'm just like awkwardly like, okay, let's Google it together. But there's more questions, and they kind of get a little bit harder. So this is just really that you guys probably are aware of most of these things, but again, I just kind of want to reinforce that. Just avoid common tropes, and I'm sure we could name a couple more that we are familiar with, but these are literally ones that I've heard at work, in the workplace, in the last 2 years. So people have asked me what my spirit animal is during icebreakers, which I think people are like, oh, it's like a fun thing, and I'm kind of like, kind of offensive. It's a little weird. It's a little weird that you're asking me what my spirit animal is. Totem pole, I've heard that a lot of times, and I think you guys are a lot more familiar with it because you actually have totem poles up here. People saying, oh, I'd be at the end of the totem pole or the bottom of the totem pole if I took that position, or I hear it quite often, and I'll kind of go into like why this is inappropriate. Powwow. Powwow, you're allowed to say I'm going to the powwow when it's an actual powwow, but when you're kind of like talking about like, oh, do you want to go have a quick powwow about this topic over here in the break room? Not cool. Indian time or Indian summer is another popular one that I've heard. And it's interesting because I feel like when I'm at the workplace and because I'm very open about being Native American, people will bite their tongue after they say it. They'll say like, oh man, it's quite an Indian summer. Oh God, sorry, I'm so sorry, Grace. I didn't mean that. I meant, it's just, it's like long, or, and I'm like, well, I'm glad you checked yourself, but like, would you have checked yourself if you didn't know that I was Native American? So it's just, consensus is ever evolving. So just be open to feedback, and it's okay. And there's a lot of things I don't know. There's common tropes that I don't know, and I'm constantly learning in other areas. But I'm just kind of, I think Native American, I'll kind of go into like representation and visibility a little bit, but we're often kind of invisible. Like people don't know that we're here because we all look different. We don't look like Pocahontas. So it's like, we have to tell people that like, hey, we are Native American, and I'm kind of offended by that. But it's a difficult conversation to have. So just as allies, we just kind of, it would be nice if you kind of checked your own self without, we would do the same thing in other communities. So I wanted to share just like a timeline of things that have happened in my lifetime. Not my lifetime, but just as a person that's 37 years old. So my grandma was born in 1923. In 1923, Native Americans gained US citizenship. So at the time that my grandma was born, my grandma, she was born without a birth certificate to this country. She was born in Washington State, did not have a birth certificate, which is wild. I feel like some people don't know that, and it's one of those things where, like I think I brought this up over dinner one day at work, and people were kind of like, well, how is that possible? Like, she was born in this country. Like, yeah, but because she was Nooksack, she wasn't a US citizen. So this, again, my grandma. It's not like my great-great-great-grandma. It's my grandma. My mom, not to show your age, but my mom was born in 1962. And in 1962, I think the last Native American tribe was granted voting rights. So I think women gained rights in like the 1920, I don't remember. It was in the early 20s. So all women except for Native Americans. So we gained this in 1962. Not my great-great-grandma. Women were allowed to vote, but not Native American women. And then my brother was born in 1980. In 1978, our ceremony practices were legalized. So I don't know if anyone saw the Oscars just this year, but in March of 2024, they did a performance where they were like drumming and singing and dancing. As of 1978, that would have been illegal. We weren't allowed to do that. And then in 2023, last year, I always forget, ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act was upheld. And that upheld our sovereignty. Like, that was something that was very crucial in allowing us to remain sovereign nations within this country. And that was last year. So just to recap, we're a diverse population, we're global, there's a lot of us, we all go by different things. Tropes today are still spreading misinformation, and the civil rights stuff happened within like my life. It's kind of, I think it's just helpful for people to like understand how relevant it is, how like recent all these things have happened. Okay, so I'm gonna go more into like the actual keynote itself, but any questions or any like comments, or otherwise let's just right back in. Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. Actually, Avery was already talking about that. She said she'd print them out and send them out or something, yeah. And I purposely like grayed out the text in the back because I didn't want you guys to focus too much on that. It's just kind of like, I can like help and like pull that out, like the sources and stuff. But yeah, good question. So why does representation matter? There's a lot of reasons representation matters. These are just three that just like stood out for me because I've personally experienced these things. Prevention of appropriation. I think just allowing me to stand here and talk to you and just like face to face, like here's just my experiences. You can read in a textbook like, well, Native Americans did this and here's the timeline, but it's not like, it might not be what I think is the most important for you guys to know. Breaking media stereotypes. I don't know, there's again a lot of like relevance of just the first Native American to write this, or the first Native American to direct this. Allowing us to tell our own stories is so important. Otherwise, you get Italian men to play a Native American, and they just put makeup on, and that's kind of how it was back in the day. And nowadays, we actually have Native Americans in front of the camera and behind the camera telling our stories. And then preservation of just culture in general, just ensuring that we are sustaining our languages, which a lot of us don't know because of boarding schools and assimilation and all of that, our traditions, and I think a lot of things that are coming up today, especially with like global warming and stuff, is sustainability and management of our natural resources, which I won't go too much into, but it's definitely worth looking into. So I kind of wanted to go into, the stereotypes and misrepresentation that still happens today, which I think a lot of people, they kind of like laugh at these things and they're like, yeah, great, representation matters, like it is what it is, everyone goes through it. I just wanted to show like how relevant a lot of these things are today. So this happened April 29th. So is that this week? So Native American students storm out of North Dakota prom where 20 white students are seen mocking their traditional indigenous dances. So this happened this week. And I think it was like the superintendent had to do a sincere apology, and there was like this uproar from the students, and like they just felt like they were being mocked at their prom, like their high school prom. Two, I don't know if you guys heard about this. I think I just hear about this and I think it's just normal, and like I just see this all in the news, but in Disney World, you know how they have those big parades with those big things? The Indianettes were performing, and you know they had like dances, and they were doing this drill team, this like dance that they do. I'm not familiar with it, but they were mimicking like scalp 'em, and that was totally appropriate. And it was just something that happened 2022 of March. You know, I like baseball, I like sports, but this is kind of why people don't know what I am and they call me ambiguous, because we've got Chief Wahoo still on the logo of the Indians, the Cleveland Indians uniform. They removed this in 2018. This one's always my favorite. The Washington, D.C. Redskins, our nation's capital, removed the Redskins logo and name in 2020, 4 years ago. This is really, I'm familiar with this more maybe so because I live in California, so I live very close to Tahoe. So people would literally say, oh yeah, I'm going up to Squaw. It's like, it's just weird. It's just weird. Like, squaw is a derogatory term for Native American women. It's basically calling someone the C word. And people just would say it so casually. I'm going up to Squaw. Oh, you guys want to go to Squaw? It's going to be like, you know, we're doing this whole trip. No, I'm good. And that was 2020. And then this one was 2013, but the word Tonto, I think directly translates to like stupid or dumb, but it was what Johnny Depp, a non-Native American, he played Tonto in The Lone Ranger in 2013. So it's like I feel like I'm complaining sometimes, and I promise you I'm not over-exaggerating, but all these things are very relevant, and they still happen today. So due to small size of our indigenous populations, we kind of went over that at the beginning, we're often just left out. We're often just kind of like invisible. And without the proper representation, we're often appropriated, misrepresented, or just not included at all. And there's been studies, and I can send the sources and all that stuff, but feeling invisible has often proven just to like unenrollment, because people are coming to campuses not feeling that they're included or seen. Suicide rates, especially with young Native kids, or I shouldn't say kids, but young youth, are like at alarming rates. And it's, you know, there's a lot of just psychological effects when it comes to people seeing that. Like, that's what you see when you're looking at the Washington Redskins. And it's every single year, at this time of year, the Washington Redskins are playing. You hear that, and it's often like, that's what I am. Like, I don't know, there's a lot of like studies, and I can kind of share that afterwards. And I don't know if anyone's familiar with this, but this was like it was part of the 2020 elections, and I think it was CNN, they were showing the polls, and they had white, Latino, Black, Asian, and then something else. And it became like this like really, really funny meme for natives to like kind of post their picture like, hey, this is what something else looks like. But it was just very obviously and pointed, and it was like they just couldn't think of what to call us. And it's a very small percentage, like 6%, but it was just very obvious. And I remember this election in particular because Arizona had a lot of tribes down there where I think it was, the presidential candidates were going to these reservations, and they were saying like, we need to go and get these Native American votes. But then they call us something else on CNN. And I don't know, it's just wild to me, because it's like, we feel it, but people don't see it. Because again, our representation is just so low. There's not a lot of us. And another big thing is we're often referred to something as the past, of the past. It's never like, when you read history books, you're not reading about current events. You're reading about, in the 1500s or the Mayflower. Like, I don't remember learning too much about Native American history in grade school at all. I remember the French and Indian War. And that was the extent of it. So when people would, like when I would introduce myself as Native American, people were like, well, you're not like really Native American because we killed those guys off when we came to this country. And that's like literally like an anecdotal like story when I'd be in school. And I remember like, telling my mom afterwards, like, is that true? Like, what are we? It's like, no, that's not true. But that's what people know. Okay, pop quiz time. I'm gonna stand back here just in case. First question. What is the Puyallup tribe name for Mount Rainier? Yes, Mount Tahoma. Yeah, it means the mother of waters. Photo op. 2, does anyone know what the 60s scoop is? This is a tough one. Okay, so the 60s scoop refers to the period when Indigenous children were basically scooped away or taken away from their birth families, usually without the consent of the family, for assimilation purposes. And this happened in like the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Who said, kill the Indian, save the man, and what was it for? Two-parter, or if you just know one of the parts. Yeah. Holy cow. Yeah. I was just going to say it was part of the boarding school, all the boarding school stuff. He's coming home with just like prizes. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so the answer, this phrase was spoken by Captain Richard Henry Pratt in 1892. He believed that the United States citizens, Native Americans, needed to abandon their reservations and convert to Christianity, among other things, so basically assimilation. And then he began the boarding school system as part of the forced assimilation of Native Americans into the white American culture. What U.S. document describes Native Americans as merciless Indian savages? Yeah.
The Declaration of Independence?
Yes. You should read it. Yeah, it's it's still there. It's still there. Yeah, that one's always like, is that real? So, yeah, this section over here is just taking all the prizes. Okay, so I'm kind of going into the keynote a little bit. So, like other places, we have a very, very small population at Google. There's 1.3% of us that are indigenous or identify as indigenous, and 0.8% of us that identify as Native American. I'm part of both, but we're working hard to support indigenous visibility across a few things. I'm going to talk a little bit about the business attribute, indigenous-owned business attribute. Google Plus codes, and then just entertainment in general. So I'm going to start with the business attribute. This is something that I launched last year. It's like November for Native American Heritage Month, actually. So if you go to Google Maps right now and you wanted to see whether or not a business was indigenous owned and you wanted to support that business, you can actually go and like see this little sticker here. It looks like a medicine wheel. And it'll show that on the business's profile. And that was really important to me to make sure that we highlight so that it's easier for consumers to find, but also the market is currently saturated with appropriation of indigenous stuff. So like if you were to go and buy just like a blanket or a t-shirt that had like indigenous print, but it wasn't made by an indigenous person, that's kind of a form of appropriation, right? And it was really important to me to make sure that one, they have a digital presence as you know, if somebody doesn't have a brick and mortar, but also it's important to give back to the community in that way because we're strengthening the actual stewards of the cultural art themselves. So it's live today. It's all self-ID, so people would have to go on to their business profile and say, I identify as indigenous. And yeah, it's just kind of like, it helps, again, like put our name. I think there's like veteran-owned and women-owned and black-owned, and it was important to me to make sure that indigenous-owned was out there.
So it provides authenticity, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
So that it is basically being true to the story and what we're going to sell.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it was something that I noticed it wasn't out there. And, you know, I think there's you're going to help me. What's the act, I think somebody at the Pike Place Market just got busted for selling non-native art. Yeah, who was it? I don't remember. It's in the news. It's out there. It's a big story, yeah, but I just remember it was like Pike Place Market, and I was like, oh my God, I know Pike Place Market. But yeah, it was relatively recent, and it was the Indian Arts and Craft Act. I think that's what it is. So Google Plus codes, I don't know if anyone's familiar with this. So Google Plus codes, it's essentially, if you go onto Google Maps, you can like create, like, you know how you drop a pin? You can drop a pin and it'll create like a code. It's like a short version of like a coordinate, longitude and latitude. So anybody can create their own address. So when you go out to reservations and it's very rural, sometimes they don't have like traditional addresses that you can send things to. So when COVID happened, that was kind of a problem. So Google made sure that we went out to Navajo Nation, we partnered with them, and we gave everybody a Google Plus code so that when they needed vaccines or they needed something to deliver emergency supplies or if somebody got sick, they were able to go out there and support them, give them what they need. And this also helps entrepreneurs. This also helps people that are trying to send things out. It's something that people don't realize, but not everyone has a traditional address. And it was really, really important to make sure that they were included because you go out to the reservation, and I think, Avery, you said that you live on one of the reservations out here, and it's like, you know, sometimes they don't have Wi-Fi. They don't have service out there. And there's another initiative that I worked on that went out and like supported building out like the infrastructure of broadband so that they could have actual connectivity to the world. There's a lot of that's not out there because they're sovereign nations. And Plus codes allowed us to make sure that they were all included in that way. So rural areas aren't left behind. And then finally, I think the world is kind of, I think there's just been this like weird moment in the world, like with Lily Gladstone, and like, you know, she was nominated for an Oscar and she just won a Golden Globe, yeah, Golden Globe award. And, you know, there's just like this kind of momentum that's happening right now with Res Dogs and stuff. But it's like, it's allowing people to see us in ways that we've never been seen before. And that's so cool. It's just so badass. It's such a cool time to see, and especially for youth. I think it's really important for the youth to see that. And you know, we're always actively looking to ensure that we bring indigenous people to these platforms. So last, I think November, I did an interview with Lily Gladstone at a Google Talk. And at this point, I think there's like 14,000 views. I think it started with like 2,000 views, and then she like kind of blew up in January, and then it just spiked by like 10,000 or something. But it's like, it's so cool for people to see that, she is also Native American. Like John and Andrea, like we all look different. We all like don't talk the same. We're not from the same place, So it's really, really cool to see that. And fun fact, 0.6% of US TV and film in front of, that is the percentage of representation in front of and behind the camera today. So we're not at 1% yet. It's a very small percentage, but we're getting there, especially with people like Lily that are like pushing for this representation and opening the doors for people. So seeing Indigenous people in movies, it just helps broaden the perspective. People are like, oh, she's Blackfoot. That's a thing. And I talked to her recently, and she was saying that when she was getting interviewed, people were asking her, oh, it's so cool, like you get to speak your Native American language. What's that like? And she's like, I don't speak my language. I've never played a Blackfoot person. I've never played a Nimipu Nez Perce person. I'm always playing different tribes, and I'm always speaking different languages. And even that response is like, hey, we're not all the same. We're not a monolith. It's like she's playing a very different tribal, cultural person in each of her movies. She's not playing herself. There is no universal Native American language. And I think just having her do Q&As like that is eye-opening for a lot of people. Because they think, oh, you're from the United States and you're Native American. It's like, yes, but like, so it's just helpful having that representation and having those types of conversations. So we all look and speak differently. So just to recap, real representation prevents appropriation, and it preserves our culture and prevents stereotypes. Often we feel left out of opportunities. Like this right now is just, it blows my mind that I'm here. Like it's so cool that you guys were like totally open to inviting me here. I just feel so honored to be here that you guys like wanted to include me. So yeah, we just often just kind of like are left out of these types of conversations and just about representation in general. But yeah, we're helping to build out the representation in general at Google for our products to increase visibility. And that's really the big point takeaway. Okay, I think there's this page and one more question. So pop quiz time, Mom, get ready. Okay, first question. What was the first and only TV series to have an all-Indigenous writers, directors, and series regulars? Yes. Nice. Reservation Dogs on Hulu. They're streaming everything today. Oh, did you? Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay. Well, we have one gift that wasn't given out because someone didn't know what the 60 scoop is. So this person too gets one. Yeah. So this was the first time ever that we had all Indigenous writers, directors, and like series regulars that were that were Indigenous. And this was 2021 to 2023. Okay. Second question. Name 5 contemporary Indigenous people in entertainment. How about 4? Lily's 1. You named 3 more? Sherman Alexie, yeah. Oh, yeah. Adam Beach, yeah. Tommy Orange, he's a writer. Yeah, Wes Studi. Okay, we got little prizes. So here's just a handful of people that, again, not just Native American. There's Indigenous people from, where's like Takai Waititi? He's from New Zealand. Yeah, we got like Adam Beach on here. There's quite a few people. I don't know if anyone recognizes these names, but these are all Indigenous people. And again, there's 0.6% of us out there. Okay, another name 5 Indigenous-owned companies. Yeah? Yeah. That's where a lot of the gifts are from. And eighth generation was created by Louis Gong, who's Nooksack. And yeah, we just did like this really big promo for him, and he's from here. He's Nooksack. He's from Washington State, and he's done. I think my mom was saying that he's done a lot of like the monorail covers and stuff. Yeah, I designed the light rail. This one, I guess, is a kind of a hard one. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Well, Creek Nations Industries and the Cherokee Nations Industries that run almost
All their own products, yeah.
Casinos in Oklahoma.
Yeah. Here's just a handful. Urban Native Eras from California, the Bay Area. Bison Star Naturals, I get all my soap and everything from them. Cheekbone Beauty, Produce Beauty. There's a lot of like beauty products. Red Lake Nation. There's everything. Anything you can think of, there is an indigenous company for it.
There's a wonderful gift shop at the Highville Cultural Center north of here. North of Everett. If you ever want to buy anything native, the whole place is just wonderful.
Oh yeah.
And so is the cultural center.
Yeah, I love cultural centers. I always geek out every time I go to one. But yeah, no, that's. I think a lot of like the casinos, they all sell like indigenous owned products. Yeah. Yeah, gas stations too. That's where we get like our blankets. Yeah, I think we got our Nooksack blankets from the gas station. Okay, and anyone know what the Bolt decision is? Yeah.
Fishing rights or taking away the fishing rights for the native fishermen.
Yeah, and do you know why it was significant this year?
It was challenged, or I know it was back when I used it.
It's the 50th anniversary. Yeah, as of I think 1974. So 2024. Yeah, awesome.
Is that the biggest question?
No, the last one is, yeah. So the Bolt decision was issued in 1974, affirmed Native American tribes' treaty rights to fish in their traditional waters. And they were entitled 50% of the annual catch and fish and shellfish in their usual accustomed fishing areas. So yeah, this is the last page, which is kind of like taking action in general, right? Again, like being here is such an amazing start. Like I was just so like overwhelmed with how many people came and like are actually interested and you guys are engaged. Just seeking out Native messages from Native people. Learn about your surroundings. Just avoid making assumptions in general. There's so much cool culture here. There's 29 tribes out here. It's just so cool. And like you learn about Mount Tahoma. You learn about what the mountains are, the rivers here are. A lot of them are inspired, like Seattle, the word Seattle, are inspired by Native traditional words or tribes in general. You can also visit www.native/land.ca to learn what land you're on. So even if you wanted to see where your house was, it kind of goes back to just the traditional territories. And then, of course, don't be afraid to ask questions. A big one, this is my big thing, is just supporting Indigenous-owned businesses. So all the prizes that went out today were all Indigenous-owned businesses. And Louis Gong kind of spoke about him a little bit. He had this big initiative where it's like, don't support Native-inspired work. Import inspired natives. There's a big push on that. It's like, these are our traditional art and like our cultures and our, and people are kind of just taking it and making it their own versus just going directly to the source. And so yeah, next time, if there's an opportunity, support Indigenous business. And then just, I think my biggest thing is just remembering that we're contemporary and we're not something of the past. Oh yeah, last question. What kinds of contemporary Indigenous topics have you included in your line of work this year or in recent years, or what might you want to teach or do this year? Yeah?
I teach horticulture classes and all of our ID classes, when they do reports, they have to try to find ethnobotanical uses for some of the plants.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, have you read Braiding Sweetgrass? That's an amazing book. Yeah, I'll highly recommend it. Yeah. That's the last prize. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I'll just add, when I don't teach now, but I taught English and always would have Sherman Alexie, short stories.
That's
just so great.
I love Sherman Alexie. So that movie I was talking about was Smoke Signals, which was Sherman Alexie. It was based off his book. Yeah, that's awesome. So that was that was it. I just kind of wanted to end on just a note for us kind of learning together and making sure that we can kind of like brainstorm just based off the stuff that we talked about. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah.
I just wanted to add one more thing. The librarians at our library have made a project this year to look for books that are written by and about Indigenous people.
Oh, I love that. And by Native Indigenous people. Yeah, I love that. Did you have a question?
I did. I wondered if you'd go back to the slide with all of the vendors that are.
Oh, yeah. Always happy to. Yeah, so these are the Indigenous-owned companies. And it's not, it's not everybody, but I just kind of went through and just picked some of my favorites. And then I'll definitely, we'll have this sent out. But yeah, we kind of ended perfect timing. But I'm here for questions. Just want to thank you guys all for coming and, yeah, being so welcoming. Oh. I'm taking orders by my mom. My mom wanted to make sure you got this as a special gift. Yeah, thank you guys. Oh my God.
I learned so much today.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, staying for a while.
I want to have that open dialogue, more questions, chat with her about work that she's doing at Google, pretty much anything. You've said repeatedly you're an open book. So. Other than that, workshops are going to kick off at 10 a.m. If you don't know your locations, again, there are QR codes outside. There are also QR codes in Briar, since that's kind of our central everything else location for today. I do have them set, so you do not have to be logged into your Edmonds email address to access them. They should pull up regardless, hopefully, if that is correct. So yeah, feel free to just scan those QR codes if you don't remember where you're going after this. Workshops start at 10, and then I'll see everyone back again at 12:15 in the Briar Student Lounge for our Years of Service ceremony. Again, thank you so much. That was phenomenal. I am so excited that you were here. And I'll be sending the slides out later today or next week, sometime.